take the specifications from the customers and you bring them down to the software engineers.
Yes, that's right.
Why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people, huh?
Engineers are not good at dealing with customers.
What would you say you do here?
Ooh, yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
Greetings, everybody. Maximus here. Well, when I came across this latest juicy Boeing story, I knew I had to share it with you because Boeing is always a big topic on the channel. It seems those pesky reporters over at the Wall Street Journal had some free time on their hands and headed over to Boeing's new headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, and dug up some juicy Boeing gossip. But honestly, I think you'll agree this isn't as much a story about Boeing as it seems to be about our new post-normal pandemic world. But be sure and stick around until the end because after I tell you the story, I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to give you my honest, personal opinion. And I do mean honest about what's going on at Boeing and in this story. And it may surprise some of you. So the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Boeing's top executives, CEO David Calhoun and CFO Brian West, have been commuting to the company's Virginia headquarters by using Boeing's fleet of private business jets as opposed to relocating their residences near the new office. Apparently, CEO Calhoun, who took over as Boeing CEO just before the pandemic, has reportedly taken more than 400 trips on Boeing private jets. And get this, the journal placed great emphasis on the fact that not all of those trips were for business. But those same investigative journalists at the Wall Street Journal dug up CEO Calhoun's flight records, and they revealed that he has traveled to various locations across the U.S. Not only that, but some of those non-business destinations were even international. However, meanwhile, the reporter emphasized that CFO Brian West has not relocated from his home in New Canaan, Connecticut, even though Boeing set up a satellite office just 5 minutes from West's home for his convenience. But as for the big dog himself, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun, the Wall Street Journal also revealed that since Boeing moved their headquarters from Chicago to Arlington almost 3 years ago, the latest flight records showed that Calhoun used the company's private planes to hop around the U.S., making stops in California, Texas, and multiple places on both of Florida's coasts. Other flights include Berlin, Dublin, the Turks, and Caicos, just to name a few. And you all know how I love me some good Caicos. Boeing's board reportedly requires Calhoun to fly on Boeing's supplied private jets for all business and personal travel for security reasons. So it's unclear which of the 400 or so private flights Calhoun took were actually for business purposes. Oh, and that's not all. Additionally, they point out that Calhoun's workdays are far from conventional. They say Calhoun travels between his sprawling waterfront mansions on New Hampshire's Lake Sunapee, and yes, also from a gated resort community in South Carolina, both of which can be accessed by Boeing private jets. Why, the nerve of that wealthy fat cat capitalist. But oh yes, I can hear all of you out there saying, Maximus, how is this breaking news? Isn't this what all CEOs do? Well, as CEO of Maximus Aviation, I can only hope to achieve such luxuries one day. But for now, it's still the 2019 Nissan Altima that carries me to exotic places like Walmart and the gas station. But nevertheless, you ask a great question. Because you see, this latest shocking revelation of corporate wealth came to light because inside sources at the 3-year-old Boeing Arlington headquarters have confidently reached out to the Wall Street Journal. Because much like Twitter, Amazon, and dozens of other major companies, not to mention almost the entirety of the U.S. government workforce, there's been a big push at Boeing to get, and I'm quoting here, lower-ranking staffers to report to work in person. Oh, the horror. However, the deeply investigative report states that Boeing has gone to great lengths to entice workers back to the office. As a matter of fact, managers who report to the Arlington headquarters have reportedly been hosting happy hours, guest speakers, and even inviting alpacas into the office to entice their staff to come in person. However, it doesn't seem to be working. You mean these things? Boy, this really explains why Boeing can't manage to put together a decent airplane anymore. But a union official for something called the Society of Professional Engineering Employees in Aerospace, Rich Plunkett, told the Journal that people are pissed because they're being told to get their butts back in the office. I like that guy. Plunkett added that many employees grumble that they are forced to be in the office doing tasks they could easily be doing remotely. But Calhoun gets to stay home whenever he pleases and take private jets to the office on occasion. Boeing employees in Arlington even seem to be making fun of the CEO's absence by posting wooden Lake Sunapee signs in their offices, with one even drinking out of a Lake Sunapee souvenir mug that read, "Love, Lake, and Life," in a nod to Calhoun's lakeside residence. While it's not unusual for a top executive to live and work away from their company's headquarters, Peter Capelli, a management professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School and author of The Future of the Office, a new book about remote work, told the Journal that it's out of step with current messaging from corporate America, which encourages employees to return to the office. It's Capelli's opinion that if you want people to come back and you're not doing it yourself, that really undermines the message. However, a Boeing spokesperson told another publication, the New York Post, that we've been transforming our leadership culture to encourage our management team to engage more frequently with employees, customers, and other stakeholders. That's why we moved senior leaders out of our Chicago office and closer to their teams 3 years ago, and why we continue to empower them to spend less time at corporate headquarters and more time with employees and stakeholders. The spokesperson insisted that increased flexibility allows its workforce to be most productive and supportive of our global business. We're pleased that this approach has allowed us to attract top talent across all disciplines as we continue to execute our recovery plans. Yeah, if I were a Boeing spokesperson, I'd probably stay away from the word execute for a while. However, if you're bringing alpacas to the office to entice potential employees, why, of course, the best and brightest minds will flock there, right? Plus, I'm guessing Petco probably ran out of gerbils anyway. Though some positions require full-time attendance, about 30% of recent Boeing job postings were for hybrid or entirely remote positions. Currently, Boeing's website shows 128 open job positions in Arlington, Virginia, most of which unfortunately require candidates to be able to report to an office. Wow. Well, frankly, the folks at the Wall Street Journal deserve a Pulitzer Prize for this investigative journalism. This makes the Max disaster seem like a mere blip on the radar compared to the awful atrocities taking place at the Boeing headquarters right now. Okay, so gather around, children, because Uncle Maximus is going to give you my honest opinion on the subject. And I have some advice not only for those at Boeing, but everywhere else across the U.S. and probably other parts of the world. And let me preface this by saying I'm going to be 59 years old this January 24th. A card will suffice, but no alpacas, please. I can barely handle the 18-year-old cat I have now. But here's my advice to Boeing employees and others who think the same way. But don't worry, I'm not talking to you, my subscribers, because I know you're perfect and I love you all. But to the other whiners out there, put down the Cheetos. Get out of your onesie and man buns, take a shower, and get back to work in the office where you belong. Yeah, I know this is where I just lost the younger crowd, but seriously, if you are fortunate enough to work from home and make a living and love what you do, that's fantastic, and something everybody would love to have the opportunity to do. Yes, I work from home making YouTube videos. Many days, sometimes I spend 20 hours a day at the computer researching, writing, recording, and editing videos. And no one video is a sure thing. Some succeed, but some bomb, but that's the nature of the game. But presently, my channel hasn't reached a point where I can afford not to work from home. But my goal is someday it will. And when that happens and my channel blows up, the first item on my wish list is to set up an office away from home. Because after a while, spending all your time at home in a cocoon can really wear you down. And the biggest reason for that, in my humble opinion at least, is the lack of social interaction with other human beings. But with that being said, nobody forces you to work anywhere you don't want to. That's your personal choice. However, if you voluntarily apply for a position at any workplace, either due to need or desire at places such as Boeing, Amazon, Twitter, or even the 7-Eleven, if the job requires you to be there, then you either go to work or quit. But this recent new mindset of I have to be able to work from home because the CEO gets to do it is just crazy. Yeah, and I'm a boomer or Gen Xer or I don't even know which anymore. But I'm sure so many of you like me have worked jobs throughout your life you hated and still showed up. Why? Because you had to pay the bills. It's funny, all during the pandemic when everybody stayed home and just ordered everything online and were catered to hand and foot for their every need, or God forbid needed to go to the hospital. How do you think you received all those Amazon packages, takeout food, hand sanitizer, and life-saving medical care? You had the luxury for one reason and one reason only, because millions of hardworking men and women all around the world had to do what? Yes, go to work, while you stayed home and Netflixed and chilled and hung your clothes on the Peloton bike the government probably paid for. Meanwhile, all those service people I mentioned willingly went to the office and risked getting sick just so that everybody could stay home germ-free. So never forget that. And my last point on this silly story is this. If you spend your entire life working in an industry and manage to become a CEO of a giant company, or you just get born lucky and your daddy owns the company, guess what? Yeah, it seems unfair at times, but still you will get to fly all around the world on private jets and work from home or the Turks and Caicos all you want. But the great thing is that if and when you become a CEO, you can do the same thing. But conversely, you can also use that CEO status to make the world a better place. And if you feel like spreading your money around to causes and help people all around the world, you're free to do that too. Because after all, isn't that the goal of building a career? To excel and rise in the ranks to the highest position possible of your chosen profession. Of course it is. And that's what every lowly employee aspires to. And pay attention to this last part, because if people don't think the same thing is happening with the executives at Airbus and every other major company in the world, they are sorely mistaken. It's always been that way since the dawn of time, and it always will be that way. But know this, my viewpoint on this one subject in no way excuses Boeing for the problems they have with the way they build aircraft these days. As far as building planes go, they have a long way to go to win back the public trust. They still have a lot of problems to work through. But I'm just talking about the corporate hierarchy that takes place at all companies, Boeing included. Wow, that sure went off the rails, didn't it? Bet you didn't see that coming. But I gotta admit, it was kinda cathartic. I know I've had some fun ranting in the end of this video about this story. But in all seriousness, this article does shed some light on the inner workings of Boeing, and not at an executive level either. They need to do a better job of finding qualified employees from top to bottom, and Alpaca's roaming around the office isn't going to get it done. But that's just one man's opinion. What's yours? Oh, and holy crap, I can't wait to see the comments on this one. Do you agree, or do you think I'm just an old curmudgeon yelling at kids telling them to get off my lawn?
Oh, get off my lawn!
I welcome all comments on this subject, lovers and haters alike. So light up that comment section. Well, thanks for joining me in this humorous but still somewhat serious look at our new reality these days. And never fear, I'll be back with more actual Boeing news soon, I'm sure. And hopefully good Boeing news at that. Seems recently they started to sell airplanes again, and that indeed is good news, so there's that. Well, that's gonna wrap up this episode of The Old Man on the Front Lawn. Please subscribe if you feel to. Don't forget to like, share, and ring the bell. But most of all, remember...
Excuse me, I believe you have my stapler, please?